Hi everyone, and welcome to the Fake Love and Flying Monkeys podcast. My name's Nova Gibson and I am your host. My area of expertise is in supporting victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse and other toxic relationships. I'm the principal counsellor at Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counselling Service, and I'm also the author of Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse. In this podcast, we're going to be talking about everything from the initial pink cloud you find yourself on at the start through to the horrific discard and the powerful trauma bond that keeps you hooked. So take your imaginary seat on the roller coaster that is narcissistic abuse, and don't forget to subscribe to this podcast so you never miss an episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fake Love and Flying Monkeys. Does the narcissist intentionally make you feel crazy? Well, the answer to that, guys, is a resounding yes. The goal of narcissistic abuse is to make you feel crazy. That is their desire when they are gaslighting you. Let's just start with gaslighting. What is gaslighting? It is the intentional manipulation of your reality. They distort your reality. They don't want you to trust your instincts. They don't want you to believe what you're seeing and what you're hearing. They want you to go to them for what your reality is. Gaslighting is really a form of brainwashing. Over time, the narcissist conditions you to not trust yourself. You have trouble making decisions. You think that everything you say is going to be the wrong thing, and they are continually telling you or making you feel that you're not entitled to what really are your very appropriate reactions when they are deliberately confusing you. So let's just say that they have committed some heinous offense. Let's make it really big. Let's just say the narcissist has betrayed you by cheating on you. If it's an intimate partner, you confront them. You found the text messages. And what do? They flip the script. A normal person would probably go, yep, you got me. I am so sorry. Look, it was an isolated incident. I don't know what I was thinking, and I will do anything to make it up to you. Or they will simply say, yep, you got me. So what? Depending on the narcissist and where you're at in the devaluing stage is how they will respond to your confrontation. Confrontation, though, implies that you're bringing something negative to the table, doesn't it? And that is how the narcissist will spin it. You always want to start an argument. I can't do anything to please you. Really, what you're trying to do is to get some accountability from them, sincere apology, and or to discuss your feelings with them. So I hear this particular example so many times from my counseling clients. They have caught the narcissist with their hand in the cookie jar. They've got evidence. They found the text messages, and or they caught the narcissist with the very person in a compromising position, the very person they denied cheating with last time you confronted them with your suspicions, which really are your instincts screaming at you. And what does the typical narcissist do? They flip it around and they rage at you. How dare you snoop in my phone? I knew I could never trust you. You know what? I just can't be with anyone who doesn't trust me. Or they might say something like, oh my goodness, I'm just friends with that person. You are so paranoid. You are so insecure. I don't know if I can stay in this relationship if you are just taking these little tiny incidents and just making such a big deal out of them. And yes, you did snoop on their phone, perhaps, but why did you do that? You did that because they continually lie to you. You don't trust them. Your instincts are always telling you that something is going on behind your back where they are being sneaky and deceptive. And you're always feeling confused because all of the circumstantial evidence you may have leads to the one thing, but maybe you just don't have that screenshot. But then you do. You've got the text messages. And they managed to flip the fact that you found the evidence of them cheating into being you having something wrong because you don't trust them and you dared to look in their very private phone, which they've told you, by the way, is something that they just want to keep to themselves. And they have a lot of private, perhaps work stuff on there, and it's just off limits. And you overstepped your or their boundaries. So how do you feel? They have cheated on you. You've presented them with the evidence, and here they are calling you the bad guy. It makes you feel crazy. It's designed to make you feel crazy. But gaslighting over time is like this slow drip feed of poison into your system. It basically changes those little neural pathways in your brain. So you begin to minimize the abuse. You rationalize it away. You start to buy into the fact that maybe you are being, just a little oversensitive. You're overreacting. In other words, they start to condition you to accept that your reality is not reality. In fact, you are seeing things, hearing things, and you need to look to them for what is actually going on. Making you feel crazy is the number one goal of the narcissist. And this is why it's sometimes so difficult to look at what they're doing and reconcile those actions with being abusive. Is it abuse when someone just wears down your ability to trust yourself, when they're just constantly trying to put you in a state of confusion? Yes, that is abuse. And just quietly, it always goes along with many other abusive strategies. But in itself, gaslighting is abuse because the goal is to have you in that constant state where you are defending yourself against the indefensible, things that they will say do not make sense, and they want to control you. A confused mind is a conquered mind, having you feel crazy, like you just can't trust what is going on in front of you, and that perhaps your reactions to what they're doing is inappropriate. That is abuse. Through coercive control, narcissistic abuse, the narcissist seeks to dominate you, to control you through fear, punishment, and confusion. If you have a mind of your own, then you can make rational decisions and rational choices, and therefore they can't manipulate you like they want to, and therefore they need to destroy your capacity to think clearly. The narcissist also makes you feel crazy by conditioning you to blame yourself for the abuse. If you experience anxiety because you're walking on eggshells all the time, and by the way, guys, I don't think I've come across one single client in the thousands of people that I have counseled where there haven't been classic symptoms of heightened anxiety levels and PTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. But they blame your anxiety, etc., which are the result of the abuse, not the cause of it. They blame those symptoms of yours. They tell you that your anxiety and everything you're experiencing is what is wrong in this relationship. In other words, you have your reactions to their abuse weaponized against you. Perhaps they'll take it a step further by, under the guise of caring, suggesting that maybe you go see a doctor or a psychologist to deal with that anxiety that's got nothing to do with them, and maybe get some medication while you're there. Or if you are taking some kind of medication to deal with your anxiety, they'll tell you to get something stronger because it's clearly not working. And then what does the victim think? The victim who has had their ability to trust themselves compromised, they rationalize that yes, they are the ones that are on pills, as their abuser likes to call it. Their abuser isn't going to therapy. They're the only ones that are sitting there talking to a counselor or a therapist each week. So maybe what their abuser is saying is right. Maybe they are crazy. There's something wrong with them. And this just becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where the words of their abuser ring true. Further down the track, you perhaps feel absolutely crazy because on a logical level, you know this relationship is toxic, but you just can't seem to stay away because of that very powerful trauma bond and the dependence they have created through that coercive control by making you 100% dependent on them. You feel crazy because you give them chance after chance. You manage to leave and then you fall for their breadcrumbs, knowing that they're never going to change, or at least they haven't the last 10, 20, 30 times, but you still go back. You feel crazy because you are just waiting for that one extra thing. They've already engaged in mountains of abuse, but you think, well, I can handle that, but if they just do this one extra thing, that would really hurt me. That would be the straw that broke the camel's back. And you rationalize that you can tolerate the other things, but it's just that one extra thing that would make it really and truly abuse. You feel crazy because you approach them to discuss something that you're concerned about, and it's something that they're doing and it's very disrespectful, very inappropriate, and they somehow manage to deflect from what you're trying to discuss, what you're trying to make them accountable for, on to something you did 20 years ago. They will remember that at 5 p.m. on a Friday evening on the 26th of January 2017, you left the car low on fuel. So how dare you approach them about anything that they're doing? So then you start defending the indefensible and you start debating that topic instead. And then you go away once again, ripping your hair out, feeling crazy because you ended up apologizing, or at the very least, it ended up in you getting the silent treatment or some other punishment for an extended period of time because you started an argument and you were unfair by accusing them of doing something when you yourself are not perfect. when you have been gaslighted for so long, when you have been the recipient of ongoing projection, deflection, blame shifting, and you try to make them accountable and they engage in word salad and you just can't get your feelings out there. You can't get them to seemingly understand what you're trying to say. It often results in victims recording conversations. Now, how crazy does that make you feel when you need to prove to your abuser that they said what they said, they did what they did, because here the evidence is the narcissist will flip it around most of the time and say something like, oh my goodness, you're recording me now? I can't even walk around my own home and talk on the phone with my mother without fear that you're recording me. And besides, I didn't say that. And if I did, you deserved it. When presented with the recorded evidence, they might also say something like, well, yeah, I said that, but you took it out of context. It actually meant this. So you go back and you listen to the recording again and again. They have you actually changing your mind when you were feeling so empowered because you had their words on tape. And now you're listening to it again and again to see if maybe they're right. And you did take their words out of context. Just remember, guys, your inability to trust yourself. This happened over a long period of time. And this is why narcissistic abuse is just so hard for victims to articulate, because it's not often one big thing. As I said earlier, it's like a slow drip feed. If they had of engaged in some obvious abuse right at the very beginning, when your instincts were intact, you never would have stayed. They had to dismantle your instincts over time. And by the end, you wonder how you got to be this person who is now recording conversations to prove to not only their abuser, but to themselves that what they saw and what they heard was actually their reality. Every single victim whom I have spoken to over the years has told me that they felt like they were going crazy. And that is your proof that this isn't you. And it is textbook for the narcissist to engage in these behaviors to make you feel crazy. It's intentional. They mean to do it. It's the goal. They want you to doubt yourself, because a confident person who trusts themselves is not someone whom they can victimize. In my book, Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse, I give the analogy of the frog jumping into the pot of water. Now, many of you will have heard this story. The frog jumps into the water. It's nice and tepid. It's swimming around, having a wonderful time. Someone comes along and turns the heat up on the water ever so slightly. And very slowly the heat increases. But because it happens so slowly, the frog doesn't notice it. And before it knows what's going on, the water is boiling and the frog boils to death. This is such a great analogy to explain narcissistic abuse, because the strongest of people, the most intelligent of people can be the victim of a narcissist, because you don't see or feel it happening. It all happens under the level of awareness, under your radar. All you know is that you feel crazy. So if this is you guys and you are in a relationship where you are constantly confused, you're second guessing yourself all the time, you no longer can make any decisions for yourself, you don't trust yourself, then please know it is not you. This was a very intentional act of the narcissist right from the beginning. It was written in the stars when you met the narcissist in your life that they were going to make you feel like you were not only crazy, but that you deserved to feel crazy because there's something wrong with you. Feeling crazy is the ultimate goal, as I said before, of the narcissist, because when you can't trust yourself, you turn to your abuser. And that brings us to the end of another Fake Love and Flying Monkeys episode. Yes, crazy making is what you are experiencing when you are in a relationship with a narcissist. No matter who that person is, it is never the victim's fault. And yes, it was intentional and it was the ultimate goal of your abuser. Now, if you would like to have a one-on-one session with me, guys, please see my website link in the description. No matter where you are in the world, I'd love to be able to support you. And if you are wanting to support the channel, the best thing you can do, as I always say, is to leave a rating and a review. It helps no end, and I would be truly grateful. Don't forget to get your copy of my best-selling book, Fake Love, Understanding and Healing from Narcissistic Abuse, available worldwide in Audible, Kindle, as well as paperback. And on that note, it's bye from me for now. Until tomorrow's episode, remember, you are worthy of love and you are worthy of so much more than a lifetime of fake love and flying monkeys.